Hi, I'm Corbin, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to put a reed on a clarinet and saxophone mouthpiece. Let's start with clarinet. So first we have our mouthpiece, the ligature, and the reed. So there's two ends to the reed. You have the tip, you have the butt, and I start by wetting them both. I start with the tip, but then I also wet the butt. I like wetting both sides because it forms a seal in the mouthpiece, making it easier to line up when I'm putting the ligature on. So let's go to the mouthpiece. There's the mouthpiece, the reed, and the tip of the reed, the thinner part, lines up with the tip of the mouthpiece up here, which is also the thinner part. I always line up the tip first. I kind of like use my index finger and press down gently with my thumb. I like seeing a little bit of the mouthpiece hang over the tip of the reed, but almost even. Next, I use my thumb and index finger in my right hand, and I feel the sides. I want to make sure that throughout the mouthpiece, the reed is lined up evenly with the sides. I don't want to feel it lined up here and then be misaligned down here. As you notice with ligatures, there's only one right way to put on every ligature. Mouthpieces are conical, meaning that the further you go down, the wider the mouthpiece gets, and the ligature fits it just like that. So with this ligature, this side right here is a little bit wider than the other side. It's tough to tell. The general rule of thumb is the screws are always going to be facing right. There's always exceptions to the rule, but 99% of the cases, the screws are going to be facing to the right. So for this ligature, screws are facing right. I slide it down. I loosen it to get it a little further down. And I always check where I want it based on these two lines on the mouthpiece. You have a line up here and a line down here. And I want the ligature resting right in between those lines. It's kind of the sweet spot. If the ligature is too high, it's going to choke the reed, preventing it from vibrating. And if the ligature is too low, then it's not going to secure the reed on tightly and the reed will be sliding around. I check my alignment one more time. Sides look good, tip feels good. You can always do micro adjustments at this point if you need to. The ligature is centered, and then I clamp it down. I get it just to the point where the screws are tight, but I'm not trying to torque it. You want it tight enough that the reed's not going to move around, but you don't want it too tight where you might be stripping the screws. Let's move on to saxophone. So I got the mouthpiece, the ligature, and the reed. So same procedure. I start with the reed by wetting the tip. I wet the butt. And then I go to my mouthpiece. Mouthpiece and the reed, place it on, tip on the tip, butt on the back end of the mouthpiece, and then just like the clarinet mouthpiece, I start by lining up the tip, pressing down gently with my thumb. I want to see that sliver of mouthpiece hanging over. Once that feels pretty good, I check the alignment with my thumb and index finger. Check the tip one more time. And then I put it on the ligature. Same rule, screws are pointing to the right. Now this mouthpiece doesn't have the nice guidelines as the clarinet mouthpiece does. Some saxophone mouthpieces do, but this one does not. So I always use the filing on the reed. Some reeds aren't filed, but this one happens to be. So I always like using that as kind of a guide to make sure the ligature's on far enough. I get it just below the filing, which is right here, and then I clamp it down. Let's move on to a different type of ligature. So you see this type of ligature on clarinets and saxophones. It's a Rovner, it's inverted. Very popular style of ligature. Here's the mouthpiece. And the reed. Start the same way, laying the tip of the reed. Then the butt. And I move on to the mouthpiece. Get my initial alignment. Pressing down on that thumb with my thumb on the tip. Now with this ligature, it's called inverted because the screw is going to be on the top. And the reason what you know the screw is going to be on the top is because that's how it's going to be facing right. You could try to put it on with it facing right on the bottom, but like I said earlier, ligatures are conical to fit the conical mouthpiece, so it will not be able to fit. The only way to get this ligature to fit on by having the screw on the top and facing to the right. Check my alignment one more time, and then I screw it down. And this mouthpiece has one line right here that lets me know that the ligature should just be slightly past it. Now let's move on to a different type of ligature. We're going to go back to a tenor sax. Got a mouthpiece, the reed, and here's the ligature where the screw is going to be on the bottom. Start with the reed, wetting the tip, and then the butt. Get the mouthpiece ready. Get the initial alignments. Pressing down on the tip. Checking the sides. And sometimes I even like looking down here to make sure that the reed is even with the bottom. Not all mouthpieces are perfectly centered on the bottom, so the rails are always a better check, but sometimes that's a good guide. Now with this ligature, same thing as always. They're conical. This one is a little harder to tell. You could kind of tell by looking at the angles that the left side is a little bit wider than the right side. You'll know immediately if you try to put it on backwards. Sliding it down, I get it past the line. I check my alignment. one's a little finicky with the plate. Just like my other reeds, I like having the ligature beneath the filing. I center the ligature. I do one last check on the sides. One last check on the tip. Tip was just a little low. Scooch it up just a little bit. And then I clamp it down. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.